Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Addison Wass, the president of the City Band Board, and on behalf of the band, I would like to welcome you to our third concert of the season here in Chautauqua Park. Throughout the summer here, I've been providing fun facts about the United States in honor of its 250th birthday, and tonight I've got a couple of facts about our nation's flag to share. 249 years and 3 days ago, on June 14th of 1777, a resolution was passed that made the Stars and Stripes flag sewn by Betsy Ross the official flag of the newly formed United States. 139 years later, in 1916, just 110 years ago, then President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed that June 14th should henceforth be Flag Day, and we've celebrated it and honored it ever since. Our MC for this evening will be Lee Christoffels, and our intermission entertainment will be provided by Gabe Fuston. Thank you again for coming, and I hope you enjoy the concert.
Good evening. I'm very glad to be the MC this evening. My wife and I have been attending the concerts of the amazing Worthington City Band for close to 28 years, I think, as long as we've lived in Worthington and found out that the band was having a concert every week. And we love the setting here by the lake. Usually the weather is great, so is the company that we find here. And it's one of the assets of living in the United States, but in particular in Worthington, Minnesota. Welcome, therefore, to the 2026 summer concert season. Each week we continue to say it with music, our opening theme song. This year we'll also celebrate our country's 250th anniversary through music. Our first selection tonight is Edwin Goldman's March, The Chimes of Liberty. It was written just over 100 years ago in 1922. In his youth, Goldman studied composition with Antonin Dvorak and went on to compose over 150 works, though he's best known for his marches. His pieces are characterized by their pleasant and catchy tunes. Goldman encouraged audiences to whistle or hum during his marches. He uses singing and whistling in the score of his well-known work, On the Mall. He also founded the famous Goldman Band of New York City in 1911 and the American Bandmasters Association in 1929. And for his contributions to the radio industry, Goldman was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We invite you to hum along to this classic march. Well, I know you all expect a joke or two. I'm not much of a joker, although I can laugh and I like jokes. But here goes. Why was the musician fired? The conductor found him too highfalutin. And why was music coming from the printer? The paper was jamming. And one more. Which legendary creature keeps musical time the best? You might think of this one. It's the metronome. Okay. So before our next number, I'll introduce myself. And perhaps we can take note of our story that's woven into the larger story of 250 years of American history. My wife and I, Dorothy, and I moved to Worthington in 1998, 28 years ago, and I served as pastor of the Christian Reformed Church here for 12 years and then retired. We have 5 children and 20 grandchildren. Most of them are about a year apart, beginning with age 23 and going all the way down to 6, so there are a couple of double-ups. At this point, we have 4 nurses going on 5 this summer, 1 electronic installation tech and another computer programmer. We have 1 teacher and a retired teacher, that's Dorothy, and 1 owner of a construction company, but that one's in Canada, 1 circuit court judge, 1 minister, besides me, 1 principal of a Christian school, and 1 doula or assistant and an assistant midwife. There are 6 college students, 6 high school students, 5 elementary and middle school students, and we trust that all of them combined can help take care of us when we need about anything. So we hope that will work out. So tonight I want to give a special welcome to the Worthington High School class of 1963, which is getting together for their anniversary. Now, I'm not sure, was this the 63rd time you're getting together? Maybe they don't meet every year. But we certainly want to congratulate the class of 1963 on meeting for its 63rd anniversary in this 250th year of our country. So please let them stand and let's give them a hand. Welcome to the class of 1963. That's a pretty good showing, I would say, for that class. Thank you very much. Glad you're here to join us tonight. We next bring you Claude T. Smith's American Folk Song Trilogy, a vibrant journey through the heart of American musical heritage. This masterful medley weaves together some of our nation's most beloved folk tunes, including When Johnny Comes Marching Home, Ora Lee, and Bound for the Promised Land. Smith, a U.S. Army Band veteran, composed over 180 works, often transforming familiar melodies into inspiring songs. His compositions have been performed worldwide by groups like the U.S. Air Force Band and the President's own Marine Band. His march, Flight, is the official march of the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum. So tonight's arrangement of the American Folk Song Trilogy is one of Smith's last compositions before his passing in 1987. So prepare to be enchanted by the pleasing melodies and masterful artistry in Smith's American Folk Song Trilogy. Thank you so much to the amazing Worthington City Band for a very beautiful piece with these songs woven into it. I remember learning Ora Lee many years ago in college, and I think I've been singing it to my wife ever since, and have loved that tune as well as Bound for the Promised Land, so thank you very much to our band. My wife and I have loved being part of this community built around the beautiful Lake Okabena. Our grandkids have enjoyed the Splash Park, the YMCA, and Water World. None of them live here, but they come every now and then. My wife, well, one of them does. One of them lives in Worthington. She's a nurse here. My wife taught language arts at the Worthington Christian School for a number of years, and then she served at Head Start and Even Start, and as a para at the Worthington Learning Center, District 518, for around 15 years. We've enjoyed the ethnic diversity in our community, and I suppose we've added to it in a way. Our church, at one point, had services in 3 languages, in addition to English, Lao, Anuak, and Oromo. And in this 250th year, since 1776, how many nations have sent new citizens to our shores? And we've loved making friends with some of the new people that have come in the last several decades. My 4 Dutch grandparents came in 1910. My grandmother always spoke with a Dutch brogue. Dorothy is an all-American with roots in Cornwall, Scotland, Ireland, Germany, and France. I imagine the only thing they had was a British accent when they came, but they knew English already. And her ancestors fought in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the French and Indian War, the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. But my wife and I don't fight, so just so you know. Our daughter is African American, so that brings a little diversity in our own family and in our community, but she doesn't live here either. She used to. And since retiring, I've provided pulpit supply for churches in southwest Minnesota and northwest Iowa. I've served as an interim pastor in several places, including the First Christian Reformed Church of Edgerton, and I've been serving as an assistant pastor there ever since. We've also enjoyed raising vegetables and eating them, and apples, and we have about 200 peonies on our acreage that bring color into it. If you ever want to come over there and see them, they're done now, sorry, or almost done, I would say, but come over anytime. Now, speaking of learning important information, why did the chorus hire the baseball player? We could have asked about the band, but it doesn't quite fit completely. Why did the chorus hire the baseball player? It's because he had perfect pitch. And why did the drummer complain about his salad? As a vegetable raiser, I can imagine what this one would be. He didn't have any beets. And then one more for now. What's a cowboy's favorite place to listen to music? No, it's the OK Corral. All right. So our next piece is a feel-good pop hit, Windy, maybe written for tonight. This was one of the first Hot 100 chart toppers, composed completely by a female songwriter, written by Ruth Ann Friedman. Windy was composed in just under 20 minutes when she was living in David Crosby's house. In a later interview, Friedman said that she wrote the song about what kind of guy I would like to be with, and that was Windy, a guy. In 1967, Bones Howe produced this song, making significant changes, making Windy into a girl. The song was written in waltz time, but Howe changed it to a standard 4/4 beat. He also opened the song with the bass line, added an unusual recorder solo, and had the group sing the ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba backing vocals. The American band The Association recorded the song, and Windy quickly found fame, becoming 1967's overall number 4 song. So tonight, enjoy the gentle sway of Windy. part of Americana, especially in the Midwest. I lived in the East for a while, and they said bands are a thing of the Midwest. I didn't even know that until then, but maybe it's true, I don't know. But part of the Midwest is to enjoy band music. And one of the pleasures of attending the concerts of the amazing Worthington City Band is connection and friendship with others who attend. So for many years, we sat here with Paul and Donna Vanderkoy quite often until they moved to Sioux Falls to be near their children. And we often had ice cream together afterwards. Maybe some of you are going out for ice cream after this, I hope so, or something like it. We always think about Paul and Donna when we think of Wednesday evenings here at Chautauqua Park. And yesterday, I'm thinking about them especially now, because yesterday I conducted Paul's funeral service. And I want to mention him as an example of someone that made our lives here in the United States, and particularly in Worthington, a great blessing. Maybe some of you knew him. He grew up here and was a member of the church I serve, Worthington CRC, a church founded with the help of a couple of the Vanderkoy families. One of them was his grandparents in 1913. He served his country in the U.S. Army Reserve for 6 years until he was honorably discharged. He had a lot of interests, including photography. If you go to the county fair, you may have even seen some of his photos there. Travel, wild animals, landscaping for his gardens on his acreage, and he collected artifacts such as arrows on his farm near Lake Ochita. He was a middle school teacher in Michigan and then moved back to the family farm southeast of Worthington and worked along the way in the Murray County Extension Office, served on school boards and in his church. His life and his Christian testimony enriched the lives of many of us, and we will miss him. And I mention him because I know him, but also because he's a sample of the kind of people that we know in our community and that we know in our country. So back to the intellectual stuff. What was Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana, you've heard that one. Okay. What is Vivaldi doing right now? The band probably knows. Decomposing. All right. One more. And why did Mozart get rid of his chickens? All they said was, bark, bark, bark. All right. Okay. I looked all these up. I'm sorry, I'm not that creative. But I thought you might like them anyway. Follow the River by James Swearingen is a moving piece. It's based on a novel by historian James Thom about the life of Mary Draper Ingalls. In 1755, Mary was captured during the French-Indian War. By the way, my wife had an ancestor that had an experience like that too. After 2 months, Mary escaped from the Shawnee and found her way home on foot through a difficult 1,000-mile journey using the rushing Ohio River as her guide. And this piece tells Mary's story using melodies in both major and minor keys to depict the constant struggle between human despair and unrelenting hope. It also features driving percussion parts to simulate the untamed wilderness. So listen for the musical interpretation of this dangerous adventure with Swearingen's Follow the River. Wasn't that beautiful? We think of so many good things that have been done through this band. It is truly amazing. So let's give them another hand before we have our intermission. Thank you for very much. Tonight's entertainment is Gabe Fuston. Please welcome him to the stage at this time.
How y'all doing tonight, huh? Give it up for the band. Come on now. night and no promises what you want to do. Daddy, you know that's still my one. That goes the way for all girls just a girl. That's all we want. Just try. Oh, girl, it's just a woman. What is a secret code? David played and the police didn't know the truth. You were confused too. There's like this, the focus is the man's fair that you can raise down. Hallelujah. See the flag. It's a noise, it's a catalyst, and hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. There's no shame, someone like you. It's not a cry you can cure. It's not someone who's seen life to come to be. Hallelujah, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. I feel and the world turn inside out. Gravity, I'm on this love. That's love. I can't stop her. I'm gonna do the something. I'll find through the sky. To up the streets from coming out. Traveling since I have Sunday night, such a good time. Time, just keep because I'm never good time. Because I'm never good time. Don't wanna stop at all. Oh, Thank you, folks. That's my time.
Thank you very much, Gabe. Let's give him another hand. Thank you for being with us tonight. It's time for the Candy March. Kids of all ages, we invite you to march along with the band during our next song and meet by the front of the stage, ready to march. My own grandkids have done this in years past. I think at one point they all walked behind the band shell. I'm not quite sure how they got there, but they went there. They had their own minds. We do want to thank the Southwest Hearing Technologies and Jason Voigt's State Farm Insurance Agency for supporting our Candy Parade this season. And this week, our march is at the Hop. Get ready to jump and jive as we transport you back to the fabulous 1950s. What's when I was around? In our next pop song. We're talking about At the Hop, a classic made famous on the iconic TV program American Bandstand by the rock and roll group Danny and the Juniors. This upbeat tune went through a few name changes before its release, including Do the Bop and Let's Go to the Hop. But ultimately it landed on the simple, catchy title we all know today. In January 1958, At the Hop soared to #1 for an incredible 7 weeks on Billboard's Top 100 chart, staying there for an additional 21 weeks. It was also included on the soundtrack for the 1973 film American Graffiti. So get ready to bop along with our next tune, At the Hop. So I think we've got our candy being served, which is good. I brought my old baritone horn with me this evening, not to play it, because I'm pretty rusty. The band would kick me out immediately, I'm quite sure. But I think it's something that's kind of typical of a lot of history. And I don't know whether there were baritone horns at the beginning of our country in 1776. I know they had instruments playing, but I don't know whether they had baritone horns. I don't know that much about that. But in 5th grade in the Christian school when I was growing up in 1954, I'll say, we could start band. And I don't know whether my dad talked to the band teacher ahead of time. I never did find that out. But one day he went to the Hartog Piano and Organ Company in town and he bought me a baritone horn. And I was ready to play in the 5th grade band. I didn't know anything except that it was a horn and it could be played in the band. I hadn't picked it, but he thought I needed a horn, so we bought a horn. I played it for 8 years and enjoyed it very much. I loved the sound of the baritone, and then I graduated after 8 years of playing it. There was one occasion, though, when it simply would not play. My teacher stuck his hand into the bell. You know, you can reach down in. This bell turns, actually. He stuck his hand in there and found a couple of socks. I had mischievous brothers. Then I blamed them anyway. Whether that's fair, I'm not quite sure. So after I was through with it, my sister played it through her until she finished high school, and then the horn retired for a while. Later on, our second son took the horn out of retirement and played it all the way through school, including playing at the Dordt University Band. And it turns out that our son's wife was also a baritone player. So then, of course, their son had to play the same horn until he got a better instrument, and now he plays in the Dordt University campus band. And then their other daughter started to play this horn until she got a better instrument. And somewhere along the way, we loaned this horn to a student here in Worthington. I think he was about in 7th grade. And, well, it had a few dents in it, and there were other issues with it. You couldn't tune it very well for some reason. So they took it to a repairman in town, and tuning, though it was a problem, he did get it nicely fixed up. And one feature of fixing it was to find in it a small toy. You really can't see this one, but there was a small rubber toy made in Japan that had fallen into the bell. And how it got there, we really don't know, except that my sister remembered that boys in her room when she was playing pretended it was a basketball hoop. And they collected a lot of interesting objects in it, and we believe maybe this is a good object lesson that she had that we can all think about. Anyway, that's my story of part of the playing an instrument. Now, this next piece is really one most of us love, and it will tug at your heartstrings. Nearer, My God, to Thee was based on a biblical passage about Jacob's dream in Genesis. It was originally written in the 19th century by Sarah Flower Adams in England, with music by her sister Eliza Flower. Later, it was set to a variety of tunes, with the most popular being Bethany by Lowell Mason. It was reported to be one of the last songs played by the music group aboard the Titanic before it sank in 1912. And it was included, of course, in the 1997 movie. It was also performed at the funerals of several U.S. presidents, including William McKinley and Gerald Ford. So enjoy the tender hymn so dear to many, Nearer, My God, to Thee. What a privilege we have to hear such a magnificent sound as this band plays. I always love it that they play a hymn every time, and that was an especially beautiful one, I believe. I do have a couple other little incidental things. How do you make a band stand? You just take away the chairs. Why is a piano so hard to open? And it's because the keys are on the inside. Okay, so over the years, my baritone horn moved with us as we served various churches in Hartley, Iowa, Oskaloosa, Artesia, California, Wayne, New Jersey, and finally here in Worthington. And we learned about certain things to love about every one of those towns. Of course, Hartley was the town with the heart. Oskaloosa had a town square, and in Oskaloosa, Iowa, one time I was preaching, and there must have been a bat hanging by the peak of the church, and as soon as the organ started, it startled the bat. The bat flew to the back and came to the front, almost hit me in the face every time. It whizzed up over my head, turned around and went back to the back. It kept on going that way, and so I finally said, well, the bats are praising the Lord too. And then the ladies in the church wondered if that old folktale was true. Do bats always try to land in your hair? We let them think about that one. All right, next, the band would like to share The Night Had 1,000 Eyes, originally written by Benjamin Weissman, Dorothy Wayne, and Marilyn Garrett. It was a popular hit in 1962 for Bobby V, spending 14 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. Its quick, upbeat tune creates positive energy. However, the lyrics show a deeper side, with themes of suspected unfaithfulness and lies. The Carpenters featured the song on their 1973 album, Now and Then, and was also part of the 2019 web series, The Inside Man. Tonight's arrangement is by talented local band director and city band member, Matthew Saxman. So, please enjoy this version of The Night Has 1,000 Eyes. Thank you to the band and to Matt Saxman especially. Let's give him a hand as the composer of this piece. In 250 years of American history, things change. We used to live in California. It was called Dairy Valley then, and there were orange blossoms. You can imagine the combination of interesting things there, of the orange blossom smell. and being there around those dairy cows. But all the dairies moved out eventually, and you had to, the traffic stopper was if a cow was having a calf. There was one dairy left, and if a cow was having a calf, everybody stopped and had to watch that. Is the weather getting bad? No. Okay. We eventually moved to New Jersey, and next to our church was the paddock where the horse named Preakness was raised, and later gave its name to the Preakness races, and that was a restaurant when we were there. Things do change. The next song is by Irving Berlin, Songs for America. Irving Berlin is one of America's greatest songwriters, born Israel Berlin in Imperial Russia in 1888. He immigrated to the United States at age 5 due to persecution. During his 101 years, Berlin gave our country some beautiful tunes, despite the fact that he couldn't read sheet music and barely played piano. He aimed to capture the spirit of the American people in his lyrics. He also received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Gerald R. Ford in 1977. Some of his most popular tunes include Alexander's Ragtime Band, Puttin' on the Ritz, Cheek to Cheek, White Christmas, and There's No Business Like Show Business. Tonight's piece, Songs for America, includes the patriotic tunes of This Is the Army, Mr. Jones, Give Me Your Tired, You're Poor, This Is a Great Country, and certainly would not be complete without God Bless America. Enjoy.
Oh boy, I think we're going to almost make it here. Thank you, Pastor Lee. Thank you, Gabe. Great concert. Star Spangled Banner is going to finish it off. I'll see you next week.